Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the KRVIA lecture series. Today, we have with us Carol Tonetti. She's an architect investigating intersections between artistic practice, architecture, and the city with repercussions in research and teaching. She's a, she has a PhD in design, space, and culture by the Faculty of Architecture and Urbanism of the University of Sao Paulo. The lecture will present Escola da Cidade, a bold and independent experience of university level for the education of architecture in Sao Paulo, in Brazil, focusing on its history and pedagogical structure developed by a multidisciplinary group of teachers as a collaborative activity oriented to social development. Along with her, we will be having Mayra Rios, who is the collaborative dean at Escola da Cidade since 2019, and she holds a bachelor degree in architecture and urbanism and a master's degree in architecture design from the University of Sao Paulo. Since 2014, she coordinates the post-graduation course Architecture, Education and Society at Escola da Cidade. Welcome to both of you, and the mic is yours.
Well, I believe it's good evening for all of you. For us, is good morning. It is. I'm going to share my screen, and start presenting you. There you go. So can you see? I believe you can all see my screen. And so to start with, this is Escola da Cidade was it's a new school created in 2002. This is the building we rented when the school started, and we have been renewing this building since then, because it was two dwelling buildings that were built with the floor levels in the same level. So we had to open and connect both buildings. And we have been in this place in the downtown area of São Paulo since 2002. This is how the space is now since its last renewal, that now we have an architectural gallery that is connected to the street. And this is a little bit about, of how the floors of this building are organized to have some class structure and or connected with the studio classes. So this is the downtown area of São Paulo. When we started working in this building, we understood that the city was a very important infrastructure for us, and that there was no need for us to have like theaters and restaurants and everything. The city was the place for us to be and to connect with different institutions that were around us, and this is something we do a lot. So the school is here, and we are very close to the subway station in Republica Square, and all this, including the Architects Institute of Brazil, is just across the corner. So we have all these institutions very close to us, like public libraries and other cultural infrastructure. So the city of São Paulo is a huge metropolis. This is a view from the downtown area. And this is much like how the city works, with these huge buildings in tall buildings in lots and all over the place. And this is the metropolitan area, because São Paulo is connected with other 39 municipalities. It is one of the largest metropolises in Brazil and Latin America, with 21.5 million people living in it. And the city area, it's 11,000 kilometers. So it's very huge, especially in its south to north axis. So to tell you a little bit very fast about São Paulo architecture, in Brazil, the modern movement in Brazil was very important as an affirmation of a local culture and, of course, architecture the same. This is the we can see the downtown area as well, and one of the buildings, this building was opened 2 years ago, which is by Paulo Mendes da Rocha, together with MMBB, which is a very important architectural office. Marta, which is one of the architects, is also a teacher at the school. Paulo Mendes da Rocha was a Pritzker Prize, so he's a very important living architecture and reference for us to what we call the São Paulo School of Architecture. This is also a very important building by him, which is the sculpture museum. We also have as a reference, very important reference, Lina Bobardi. This is Sesc Pompeia, but also the Museum of Art of São Paulo, which is in one of the main avenues of the city. We also have this works by Oscar Niemeyer, although he is from Rio, which is considered a different school of modern architecture, yet is a very impressive space designed by him, which is the Ibirapuera Marquise, which is this huge infrastructure that was built to connect different buildings, but has very important use by the people in São Paulo. And Vila Nova Artigas, who is a very important reference because he designed, but he also created the curriculum for the School of Architecture from the University of São Paulo, which is a main reference because it's a public school and it's a very important reference for architecture schools in Latin America. So, there are also many other interesting and important architectures, such as the Cultural Center, which is a municipal public cultural place, and also more recent architecture, such as something happened here. Such as these IMS, which is also a cultural institution that was designed by Andrade Moretin. Vinicius Andrade is also a teacher at the school. So this is a more contemporary example of our architecture. So, Mayra.
Hi, everybody. Great. Hello, everybody here. And so we'll talk a little bit about. Can you listen to me? I mean, I'll talk a little bit about the structure of Escola da Cidade, which is an experimental school of architecture. We started almost 20 years ago. We have the graduation course in architecture and urbanism, and we have some 5 lato sensu post-graduation programs. And also last year we started a technical high school that is connected to construction and everything. So this all started in 1996 with a group of architects who decided to build their own school to make it different from other schools we have in Brazil. So that started, it was a long period since 1996 to start the first class in 2001. Okay, so it's an independent experience. It's a private school and it's understood as a multidisciplinary and collaborative activity oriented to social development. So it's the materialization of a dream of a group of architects together, this group, yeah. So we are talking with. We have a lot of discussion about the city. We want to talk about the city, to live the city, to understand the city, and to project the better spaces in our city. So it's really connected to São Paulo. Yeah, and to interdisciplinarity learning, which is very important for us also. So this is the structure we use to explain our association, which is a lot of people together thinking about life and about architecture. And so we have many councils, and each council thinks about one area and has students and some architects that works in different areas, so we can work together and have more connection with society and make works together, yeah, with society. Also, the board, it's responsible for all the financial and to decide how to manage the money. All the money we get is from the students. We don't have any other apport of money. It's all from our students. And so in a collective way and collaborative working based on common intelligence, we have this non-profitable association, which is called the Escola da Cidade. The association name is Escola da Cidade also. The graduation curriculum is a very strong structure, very simple, as you can see in this slide. It's really simple. So every Monday they have the same classes, every Tuesday, every year of the school have the same classes. And then we have a break. We start in the afternoon at 2 o'clock and we go until 8:30, which for us is a good time to leave school and get home and also have dinner together with family and everything. So it's possible to have an interesting life. And also it's possible to work in the morning. So if we start at 2, we can all the students can work in the morning for somewhere else. So that's the idea. So we have a break, and then we have the second period when we have the vertical studio, which is something we'll talk later with you. Here we have the structure for the years. We call the
she's hung, is it, or Madhura?
Yeah, I can hear you. I cannot hear her.
Is Carol? Can you hear?
Karen, can you hear us?
So I think.
Yes, I can hear you. I can maybe continue as might we fix the
Sure.
connection.
Sure.
So yeah, this is the graduation curricula year by year. So we have this basic first phase, which takes three semesters. Then what we call a specific and application, and then the last 3 semesters that are dedicated to improvement. So in the first basic, they have only the regular discipline courses. In a specific and application, they share the time between the disciplines and what we call vertical studio. And then in the last 3 semesters in the improvement, they have 1 semester, the 10th semester, where they travel abroad for an external experience that we are also going to show you later. And when they come back with many different perspectives and experiences to share with the students. So it's important that they come back to the vertical studio to bring their experience abroad and share it with the students. So this is basically what the courses, the main issues the courses are structured in. So urbanism, the history, media and expression, which is where which is my area of working. technology, and design. As you saw, the design happens also in Fridays, and it's the only day where they have the full day working with the design practice, because we understand that this is a very important it's a very important area of working, and it demands a lot of talks and presentations and tutoring by the teachers. So Fridays are dedicated to the design, and these are each year they have this specification. So they start approaching what is to design, then they deepen a little bit how to design, then they consolidate it as a practice. Then they start to articulate the project and the design to more complex integrations. And then in the last semester, they understand how we try to bring the idea and the responsibility to how to build it's the main issue. So this is some of the works of the students. And the design and project area, they usually have this final presentation exhibition. So these are the 6 singularities. I mean, the things that make us different from the other architecture schools in Brazil. The first of them is this idea that every Wednesday, the school, every student from the first year to the last year, all the teachers are invited to be part of these seminars on culture and contemporary reality, where we invite different people with different subjects to discuss and hear about any important matter happening at the time. The other thing is the international seminar that happens once a year, and we invite many different architects, also artists, urban planners, geographers, sociologists to work with us for a week. So it's usually the international seminar is structured as the first big happening in the school. Usually there is a theme. This theme is also the theme that is going to be the vertical studio theme. And we have some lectures, and then we have this the invited lecturers to work with us for a week. And then we have the vertical studio, that, as you've seen in our curriculum, it is an activity, a very important activity, where students work from the first year to the 6th year. We have groups working together. So that is why it's vertical, because the students work together, no matter if he's from the 2nd year and he doesn't have as many experience as the 6th year student. It's important that they work together and learn together. So the vertical studio usually has a very open theme, and it's very important that the students they start wondering about this theme, and they propose the interventions based on this theme. Sometimes the theme is more connected to a specific area of the city. Sometimes it's a broader matter that can be that we can think about it no matter what. It's not ubiquitous. So this is an example of a work which was very important for us, because these 2 students they worked in this neighborhood, which is called Tiquatira. It was in 2014, and they found this football field that was behind a huge white wall, and this was a very important possible leisure for the people living around it, but it was closed. They couldn't access this area. So they worked, they did crowdfunding, and they were able to open this wall by some pieces of windows and spaces for people to put their luggage to go play football, and places for people to see the football games. And this was for us a very important moment. And as you can see, they go all through this synthesis of the many knowledges they gather from the other disciplines. They all are synthesized in the studio practice. So this is another example. It's a student in 2015 that worked together with a choreographer and a group of dancers in another neighborhood in the city. So at first, she designed with this group the set for a performance. And then later, she started mapping the neighborhood staircases. And she understood that these public staircases were really used and were very important, but the handrails were discontinuous. It was hard for older people or people carrying luggage. They had a lot of difficulties going up and down the stairs. So she worked together with a choreographer, and she designed this handrail, and she really installed it in the city. And then she came back with this choreographer, and they filmed a very beautiful dance that he performed with his group using this handrail. So, and this is a last example of studio vertical activities, which is called free lunch. This group of students, first they mapped. This is very common in the vertical studio, all this mapping. Prior to the design of a piece of intervention or a building. So first, what they did was they understood that all these grassroots movements for housing, all the leaderships were women. But since the city is too big, many of them, they recognized the work of each other, but they never had the chance to meet because they were too far apart and too involved in their own struggle. So what they did is that they invited one of this group of women that had this community garden for organic food that was in an occupied empty, vacant lot. And they prepared a lunch, and they invited each of these women to have lunch and have the opportunity to share their experiences and finally get to meet each other on person. So this was a very also different and important perspective of thinking how to think about spatial practices and architecture in the city of São Paulo. So the other singularity is also the integrated project. This is something very important. It happens in the 5th year before the students go to their abroad experience. They have this integrated project with expression, technology, and design. And usually they reach prototypes or even they built real pieces for intervention also in the city. And then the abroad experience, well, students travel for 6 months, and this could be an experience in an office, or it could be an academic exchange program. It can also happen in Brazil as a research. So this is a very important difference in the course. And as I told you, it's really amazing how when the students come back, how mature they are and how interested they are in sharing their experiences with their colleagues. And this is something interesting. These are the countries with which we had the opportunity to exchange students. So we saw the map that Rohan shared with us a month ago, and I believe the main difference is that you in India, you have more connections in the north part of the world, and we of course we have lots of connections with South America, and this is something we try to do a lot, is to connect South America. And we also have, as a difference, it's the traveling school, which is different from the abroad experience. This happens every year, twice a year. All of our students travel for a week to investigate cities, other cities, and learn architecture by experiencing the city and the architecture. So we have since 2006 until 2019, because unfortunately this year, because of the pandemic, we weren't able to travel. But we can say that 936 students traveled to, had 78 travels to 56 different cities. Of course, we travel a lot through Brazil and through South America. So these are the squares are the places we have already been, and the triangles are the places we now go regularly. And this is a little bit what happens in the first semester. The first year goes to Rio, which is a very important reference for the beginning of the modern architecture in Brazil. And then, and the second year goes to this Paraíba Valley, which is a place nearby São Paulo that was important for the plantation and the coffee plantations. So we have this farm structure and a little bit of the colonial history of Brazil. Then in the second semester, the first year goes to Minas Gerais, which is also a place in Brazil where the colonial architecture and the colonial cities were developed around the extracting minerals. And then second year goes to Brasilia, the third year goes to Paraguay, and the fourth year goes to Argentina. So to finish, I'll try to show you a little bit also about our extension, examples of our extension programs. As Mayra showed you, this mobile structure of lots of many people doing things, researching, and there are lots of things happen in the school, and the students are able to engage in these different propositions that we call the extension programs. So the first one that I would like to bring here is the Cambridge Hotel, which was a very important experience we did in 2014. This is Eliane Café, is a very important movie maker in Brazil, and she was filming the history of the occupied buildings in São Paulo. The downtown area of São Paulo has a lot of empty buildings. It's very expensive to live in the downtown area. And so the movements, the Occupy movements, were very important. So the movie, it's a mix of a documentary and a fiction, and she worked inside the Cambridge Hotel. But also Carla Café, which is a teacher at the Escola that usually works, is Eliane's sister. She usually works, they work together, and Carla is an art director. She understood that filming the movie is a very invasive and transformative experience. So she tried to make to converge the idea of education, the set design, and the transformation of the occupied building. So this was all documented in a book, which is called the Hotel Cambridge Experiences in Architecture, Movie, and Education. That was also a book that we designed as as a sort of an enemy to present all the history of shooting the movie. So this relationship with the Occupy movement is very strong, and this in 2019 we worked with them again. We are always working with them, but we worked with them for the Chicago Architectural Biennial, and where we try to, together with them, gather information about the movement. This is Carmen Silva. She's the leadership. And this is the building we call 9 de Julho, which is 9 of July, which is an important avenue. And we work together with the dwellers, with the leaderships, to gather all the information that could help to change the public opinion about the Occupy movement, which is often seen as invasive, as outlaw, and we understand that they are changing completely the perspective of the downtown area, and they only occupied abandoned buildings with documentation problems and with no owners. So they are offering us a solution. So this is a little bit of the work that was done at the time, showing how diverse is the population that live in the occupied buildings, how these buildings are changed, and how the dwelling are organized. And this is the presentation in the Architectural Biennial. Mayra, you're back. Would you like to tell about us about the Kamayura? No, she's not back. So I'll go on. So this is another experience. This is a beautiful history.
She's back.
One of us. She's back. Mayra,
But it's
are
not
you back?
working well. There's something wrong. I don't know. I don't feel comfortable. Just go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, thank you. So this is a very beautiful story. One of our students decided to drop out of school and travel through Brazil to draw her experiences. And she went to the Kamayura, which is an indigenous community, a traditional community. And she asked permission to draw their community. And then the indigenous were amazed by the idea of drawing their community, especially the older leaderships, because they said that they were worried because of the fast industrialization and transformation of these areas. These communities are losing their connection with the youngsters. So they asked her if they could draw their history and somehow register their history with her. Then she got in touch with us again, and we developed this very beautiful project where the professors and students went to the Kamayura community to draw and register their community together with them. This is an online publication that shares all their knowledge, the constructive knowledge, but also cultural knowledge, and gathers also the drawings that they did together with the indigenous community of the Kamayuras. It's important to say that these communities, they don't have this tradition of drawing. So it was a very transformative experience for the community, but also to our students. It's a very beautiful work. We also had this research and artistic intervention research regarding slave labor in the construction sites that we did along 2016 and 17. It was a huge project done by, since we are a non-profitable association, we can develop these works with money from a fine applied to a construction company that had this slave that was fined for having slaves inside the construction site. So, but also we have these inside structures, such as we call it the chest, which is where we gather all the audiovisual content. So the students can work with us to help documenting everything that happens in the school. They can also work. We have a small publishing company where we publish our all the production, but also different publications that might be of interest. So history books, the research that is developed in the school, and also the guides for our trips for the traveling school. So all of this is we do inside the school in this publishing company where the students work with us. We also have this design branch that helps with the billboards, with the exhibitions, and also with the publishing company. And as I told you, we have since 2000, by the end of 2018, we opened this last phase of our renewal program, where we opened the space on the ground floor, and we transformed it into our first architecture exhibition space in São Paulo. And I don't know, maybe from Brazil, because there is not much tradition of having exhibition space dedicated exclusively to architecture. So I guess that's it. This is I'll leave you a feel of our social network and website. In the website of Scholar, you can find some of the publications with more details of these, some of these works I presented here for you. And I would like to thank you all again. And we are here for, I don't know, a chat, and if you have any questions.
There's a lot of impressive work, and it was lovely listening to how the ways of how the university functions. But I think perhaps we could open to a discussion now if Rohan, you would want to say something.
Myra, can you hear us? Can you join us as well? I'm feeling very bad that she's constantly coming in and out of the room. Yeah?
I can speak. I can speak, but my video is not working. I don't know why.
It's okay. At least we can hear your voice. Yeah. And
okay, I'm here.
Yes. No, thanks, Carol. Thanks, Myra, for that presentation. I think it was incredible to see the kinds of work that you guys are doing. Very interesting rethinking of architectural education in its traditional sense. At least for us, it seems like a completely different model. Although I must say that there were so many similarities between your school and ours that it was spooky, you know, whether that's the interest in documentation, whether that's the annual events, whether that's the weekly lectures, the entire interest in multidisciplinarity, and also consciousness of the fact that architectural education needs to be in many ways rethought from its traditional forms to be able to really relate to what are the forces that are shaping our city. And I found that to be a very kind of interesting thing, especially hopefully if we kind of manage to kind of finalize some sort of partnerships, it'll be great to kind of take some of these questions forward across the North and the South. You know. I just had a kind of some, I think, very basic questions for you. As a School of Architecture and within the University of Bombay, we have a licensing issue. So when we give a degree to a student, they automatically get a license to practice in India. Right? Who are the kinds of students that come to your school? What is their general age? I mean, loosely, and what is the question of licensing really in Brazil? And how does education plug into that?
Mayra, would you like to answer that, or should I?
I can answer if you listen to me. Yeah. Okay. So when they come to Escola da Cidade, the students, they are about 20 years old, mostly. And yes, we give the license. Once they have our degree, they do have the license to build. They just have to register, but they have the license to work, to build. It works the same way.
That's great, because because from what kind of work that you guys are doing, a lot of them seems to, I mean, a lot of it seems to challenge the idea that architectural practice is about designing a building, especially in the vertical studios that you showed us, where the design is actually maybe of an event, or the design is maybe small and tiny, and is more about kind of finding a way to participate with communities. And I can't imagine the Indian licensing system really being able to find its way to validate that kind of idea of architecture. Do you find that to be difficult within Brazil, or has it been quite easy?
Well, I think I can answer that. I believe, of course, they do have a lot of work in more technical issues, but I find that I think that these certifications and our class unions, they are still very connected to the idea of building. And what I see is that this can be broadened more and can be different. But our students, they are very, there are many different practices coming out of Escola da Cidade. We do see researchers working that go to academic life and research. We do see our students going to work with movies and arts. But we also have a huge part of our students that start working with a more traditional architecture, offices structure, designing buildings. So I believe that we do graduate students that can work in a very huge range of practices, but we do understand that architectural practice can be widely understood.
But actually, I mean, I think that is something that we would really also like to learn in many ways from the way that you guys structure your courses, because it's really something that we also, I think, believe in, that one needs to kind of think about new ways of practicing. And but our entire licensing system is really clearly based on one particular model of practice. And but I mean, in reality, our students really go out into the city and work in many different ways than the traditional architecture practice. So that was an interesting thing for us to really kind of learn from your presentation. I found it very interesting. Just another kind of random question. I don't know whether that's even relevant, but you mentioned something about the Rio School and the Sao Paulo School of Architecture as being two substantially different ones. What exactly is the difference?
Well, Rio is seen as was the capital of Brazil till Brasilia was built and in the 60s. So it was the main place, and it was the main city for cultural enterprises until the 60s. So the modernism and the main architecture schools started in Rio. And that's where Lúcio Costa and Oscar Niemeyer and Heidi, many important architects started their practice and possibly started the modernism in Brazil. Of course, there are some other examples, but I mean, as a school of architecture, it all started there. So it's very associated to Niemeyer, to curves, and to different use of concrete and materials in the building. And São Paulo was a city that grew enormously in the 60s and the 70s. So also our architecture school, there's a big difference as well. In Rio, the architecture school were more connected to the idea of the Beaux-Arts. So, and São Paulo Architecture School was connected to the engineering school. So this is also, these are two different perspectives. So São Paulo architecture is mainly connected to an idea of brutalism, of the use, the thinking of using the concrete in a very different plastic way than the Rio school. And it's more connected to this 60s, 50s and 60s second phase of the modernism. So I believe that's how the two main, and that there is this very the idea of building as a technical, well designed structure that is always very present in the buildings.
So, and you know, because you know I mean, I guess Brazil and India have been kind of had so much of the legacy of the modernism of the modernists, you know, with Nehemiah and Corbusier in India. I was actually wondering now, in terms of your school itself, is that a unique sort of way of imagining things, or do you see yourself as part of the legacy of the way that architectural education was imagined in Brazil? Or do you see that as a new direction or something unusual that is happening at this time?
I would say both, if that is even possible. I don't know if Mayra would like to complement, but there is a very important dialogue with the idea of a legacy, of the importance of the Faculty of Architecture and Urbanism in São Paulo, of Vila Nova Artigas' work, and many other architects, Paulo Mendes da Rocha. So I believe that there is a legacy, of course, but there is also these different perspectives of practice that we are experiencing more from, like I showed you, from 2014, 2012 till now. And I do believe that these two ways of thinking and about architecture, they can live together, and I believe they do in the school. I don't see that they mean a rupture, but a way of just thinking more possibilities for architectural practice.
Yeah, because I think that is one of the kind of classic tensions that we have in, at least in many schools of architecture. And I can say that definitely in our school there is that, you know, the idea of the idea of the building and the fetishization of the building as this thing, and trying to also think of new ways of practicing. And I think I think it's good to have that tension alive, because I think it keeps challenging both of these extremes to evolve. I guess new ways of kind of thinking about architecture.
I can definitely say that these different perspectives they generate very passionate discussions.
That is basically a lot of fights. I can understand that too.
and I do. There is something I always like to quote that once I heard that Kandinsky and Klee, when they taught in the Bauhaus, they both argued all the time because they couldn't. They used to see painting as two different, completely different approaches, and their students, they usually say that that's why they learned so much, because they didn't have only one perspective, but they were all the time arguing, and this argument was very important.
Yeah. And I think to have an argumentative school is a very good thing. It's good to have volatile spaces, because I think students then are constantly kind of getting different points of view rather than being trained in one way of thinking as being the only way in which one should be learned. And I think that's the sign of, I think, a good a place that we can all learn from. Mamta, are there any questions among the students and things like that, or?
Yes.
Yes, Madhura will go ahead.
Yeah. We have a question that says, how did your college manage to structure the course in this pandemic?
This is from, now I think you're reading some students out.
Yeah,
So maybe you can tell us who's asking the question as well, just generally, rather than coming from an anonymous source.
It is anonymous.
Yeah, it is anonymous. Yeah.
Okay.
It has. Yeah, Mayra, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you listen to me?
Yes.
But you cannot see me, so I'll just say you can listen to me. Yes, we decided with this pandemic situation, we decided to make a special studio for the last semester. So we converted all the students and all the teachers into one big studio with only one project, so they could stay less time in front of the computer. That's the main idea. And besides this, work all together, first year to sixth year, all together in groups. So they have their time together to work, to make projects. And we are finishing this now, and we are starting to see the project, to see where we got with this idea. But we decided, as we can experience all the time, we decide whatever to do. So we decided to make this big workshop. I think it was a very good idea. So they didn't get that much tired as if they were making several projects at the same time, without structure, without friends, without company, So I think it was a good idea.
Yeah, we are still wondering how we are going to manage to get a new first year in the pandemic and trying to develop a group dynamic. It's going to be quite a challenge.
Yes, it is. We asked a lot to the older students to take care of the young ones,
Yeah.
We could have continued, but we are short of time, so I think we can.
Just one question. That's so sad. One more question, sure.
Actually, the questions are quite similar. How did you structure the course in the pandemic? How was it restrictive? So I think this largely answers the
question. All right. No, I think one of the things I'd like to really say is that just given the fact that there are so many similarities both within your context as well as ours, this a certain kind of approach to modernism and modernity, the kinds of, if Sao Paulo has 21 million people, Bombay has 20, we are so similar just in terms of the sizes of our cities, and so many of the issues that you and we are dealing with, whether it's trying to really think about new ways of imagining architectural form, architectural practice for our particular contexts. I think it's been a pleasure having both of you kind of present the work of the school. We're looking forward to actually taking this forward in some sort of collaboration, hopefully, and meeting each other sometime, maybe when this damn thing ends, this COVID disaster. But thank you so much for that presentation, Carol and Moira. It was a pleasure having you. Madhura, is there anything you would like to add? And Mamta?
Yeah, Rohan, of course, to you too. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Myra and Carol. It was a lovely session. It was lovely to listen to your insights, and I'm sure we can also pick up a few things from what you said. and it was a great session all over.